Hollen Meyer here, and thanks for sticking with us through the series of empowering women in January. We're doing this in support of the Women of Iron experience. We've had 2 this month already, one in Victoria, BC, and the other in Austin, Texas. If you want to be the first to know when the next event's going to happen, be sure to click the link below for more information. Coming up next, I am interviewing a dynamic female entrepreneur. She is a firecracker and a powerhouse. So stick with us and enjoy. And welcome back. I'm Dr. Hollen Meyer, along with my special guest, Dr. Andrea Nazarenko. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
You bet. Now, she is quite the firecracker, and I'm excited to pick her brain today. She's a research psychologist whose work focuses on bridging the gap between research and practice. She's also the co-author of the #1 international best-selling book, When Food Hurts. It's an awesome book, too. And so be sure to grab that. I'll be sure to put the link in the comments. And she's the co-developer of Gut Happy Lifestyle. It's a system to help people get to the root cause of their discomfort and their disease. We're not over yet, guys. She's also the co-owner of the Old Mill Chiropractic and Family Wellness. Her husband is a pediatric and family chiropractor, and they also own the largest family wellness center in the state. What state are you in?
We are in South Carolina right now.
Oh, so beautiful. And I'm not done, because probably one of the most phenomenal things, and one of the things she's most proud of, is she works from home, and she's a mom of 3 boys from 16 months, 4 years old, and 6 years old. So she is a busy woman. And in her space, I'm about to let you talk here in a moment, in her space of genius, right, and empowering women, it's in the work-life balance, which she's clearly a genius at. So I want you to kind of expand a little bit on how are we going to empower mothers to be mothers and businesswomen? I can't wait to pick your brain on this. Tell us a little bit about your approach on that and how you do it.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those questions that I feel like when I look back in 20 years, I might go, what did I just accomplish back there? But it started for me with this idea that and I think a lot of moms or moms to be watching or listening to this could resonate with, is like, for the first 18 years of life, you're asked the question, what are you going to be when you grow up? And then you go to college, and then from college, it's like, what are you doing after college? And after college, it's like, what are you doing after that? And you enter into this life of career development, and what are you going to be when you grow up? And somewhere along the way, being a mom isn't always the right answer, right? And I don't know why that is, because being a mom is my very best accomplishment that I have. I could hang a bunch of degrees up on my wall, which I actually don't even know where they are, my degrees, but I have children all over my house because truly my greatest accomplishment are my 3 boys. But somewhere along the way, we, I think as women, have to decide, am I going a career route or am I going a family route? And then we're put into these pathways. So you're either a stay-at-home mom, or we talk about stay-at-home moms, or you're a working mom, and we talk about working moms. But what happens to that woman who doesn't want to choose either one of those paths and instead wants to be a full-time mom and a full-time entrepreneur or worker? And so early on in my career development, so I have 3 master's degrees and a PhD. So I went to school for a really long time. Right. And somewhere in that, I said, I'm not giving this up, but I'm also not giving up my opportunities to be a mom. And I don't want to miss first words and first steps, and the first time they draw a picture that actually has arms and legs, and all of these little small developmental milestones along the way of my children's path. I didn't want to miss any of that, but I also didn't want to give up all of the 26 years of school that I did too. And this felt really uncomfortable to me, this notion of having to choose one. And so I like to live what I call a life by design, is that I created a life where I could do both of those things. And I can't say that it's always easy every single day, which is really just being able to not accept I have to choose an either or role, where I have to choose a role of being a mom, which means if you're a mom, you stay at home and you do all of these things and you don't work in the workforce, and you really adopt the identity of mom and wife, or a working mom where truthfully you're working and you're oftentimes judged by a lot of people for not being home with the mom. So it's like us as women, especially women who have achieved success in their career, are put in this position where they have to choose either or, and that choice wasn't comfortable for me. So my choice was not one to choose either or, say, well, I'm just going to carve my own path. And there's no children's book out there that we read when we're little that teaches a female to become a businesswoman and a mom simultaneously and not to miss a beat with both of them. And so we are carving our own path, but I think it's one that's possible. And it is the answer to, we talk about equality, we talk about empowering women, we talk about women in the workforce and equal pay and all of this stuff, but that the onus is both on society at large to respect and honor the dual roles of women, but also women to own those roles and to just say we're doing it ourselves. And entrepreneurs, if you're an entrepreneur and you're listening, I'm especially looking at you because I think that we are the women with the most flexibility to be able to do this and to be the model and lead for other women to do it as well.
That's true. And I feel like there's kind of a new emerging mom that has either a side hustle, like they're want to be moms first, and they have a side hustle, and there's some business models that support that. And it's really a beautiful thing for us to kind of have that voice or that financial independence, and just be able to contribute to the household in a different way as well. And then there's folks like me that have children later in life. And so I've only ever known being like a businesswoman, and I can't shut that off. And interesting enough, I posted something the other day and I was like, 2020 is going to be awesome. And I kind of listed out some things that were going on in my life like I normally would. And then I put, also, I'm going to be a new mom. So that's like the coolest thing ever. But it was at the bottom of my list without really thinking twice about anything. I was just excited about that too. I got reamed on social media for not having that being number one. And so I was like, oh man, like it just made me kind of think about how we perceive things or whatever it's supposed to be. I'm like, that's not who I've been for the last almost 40 years,
Right. I didn't mean I wasn't going to love my child. I just meant I'm also excited about these things too.
Right, yeah. I just thought that was an interesting perspective and it's new. So what would you say in regards to the subject of being like awesome moms and in powerhouse business women? What are some of the struggles you think that we struggle with the most in balancing this out, which I think balance, I hate that word. It's like counterbalance consistently, but right. What are some of the struggles in doing that correctly?
Yeah, so I think the biggest struggle is between your two ears, and it's really our mindset and our judgments of ourselves. So I'm a big proponent of the word should be erased from our vocabulary, because especially in talking about this, could say, oh, I should be up earlier. I should have put being a new mom at the top of my list. I should have made them a hot breakfast, but today they had a bowl of cereal. I should have hot dinner on the table, but we ate out tonight. I should. And you allow is accepting that some things are going to go by the wayside and there's only a limited capacity. So some days your house is going to be messy, and that's just the reality of the situation. And some days your house is going to be so incredibly spick and span that you're like, everyone get out of here because don't mess up my clean house. But that is just the way the world works. And there's some days where you're going to get, I think one of the biggest things that I had to accept is that my to-do list will never end. It won't end. And maybe that's just the life of a businesswoman in general, but a businesswoman coupled with motherhood, it's like my to-do list is excessively long and there's things always being added to it. But I know which, say, top 3 things have to be done this week. and I don't overbite what I could, what I could bite off. So if I want to get 3 things done, then I'm just going to get those 3 things done. And sometimes those 3 things are not major, humongous things, but they are things that move me in the right direction.
Perfect.
The other tip that I have associated with that is the thing that gets me by, and this is something someone told me when I was pregnant, was that 15 minutes before you have children is not enough time to get anything done. 15 minutes after you have a child is like, you might as well write a dissertation in that amount of time, because you have 15 whole freaking minutes to get something done. So it's finding, people are always seeking these large pockets of time to do this large amount of work. And that's wonderful and that's great, and definitely keep seeking those. But also take advantage of the 5 minutes here or the 5 minutes there, because all of those little minute pockets of time add up to quite a big chunk by the end of the day. So you could be productive by taking small bits off at a time. So one thing at a time and getting those things done. And it certainly helps me get things done as I, give myself grace for not getting everything I should get done, but taking advantage of the time I have is
right.
Humongously helpful to sort of just carving my own way.
Right. So what I feel like I hear you saying, just to kind of sum up some things, is don't should all over yourself. That always sticks with me because, it just sounds funny, right? But also, and show yourself some grace in those moments, and really utilize those pockets of time. Is this how moms all of a sudden seem like they're like Wonder Woman? Like, how on earth do you get all this done? They're more. You have to be more efficient with your time, right? Like it's not really an option.
It's not an option. There are times you're going to have to get up earlier. You're going to have to stay later. And also building in some grace of, like, in the past, I might have been able to say, hey, I'll get that done in this pocket of time, and then it will be done. Well, now I have to say, I'll get that done in this pocket of time, and then I'll have it done. But if I don't, here's another pocket of time I could work on it, because you never know what's going to happen in that pocket of time, because I have these 3 little people where things happen, and I have to be able to have built in some grace for myself. And self-care for me means giving myself a little extra time to do something. So I think that that's really important, just having realistic expectations of yourself and what you could get done.
So, Dr. Andrea, with the tips that you've already given us, it's awesome. It helps us gain a little bit more clarity and reminds a lot of moms already of how to empower themselves. But what about the women that have kind of lost themselves and lost their voice and leaked their power out into motherhood, and they really want to get back into the career scene, or they just want to have that desire to put more into their career and their businesses? What advice do you have for those ladies?
So the first thing, and I think that there's 2 pieces here. The first is to ask yourself why you want to get back into it. And that's not an easy question to always answer. So what I hear a lot of moms saying is they just want to help out with the bills around the house. And that's wonderful. That's a very admirable quality, and to want to have some extra spending to increase your budgets or to get bills paid. But sometimes that's not enough to really motivate somebody. What you're doing then is you're putting your children, your number one thing that you gave everything else up for, aside to do something that maybe you don't love as much, just to meet ends meet. And maybe that's perfect for you and your family, and that is really respectable. But I also, at the same time, encourage you to think about what motivates you. What do you want to do? What sparks your interest? And it doesn't have to be the thing that you did before you had kids, because you and I know you're a different woman now that you had children before you were before. I got a little tongue-tied there. And so what is your passion now? Really take some time to explore that, because your kids won't be little for long. And when they're out of the house and they're grown, this is something you could plant the seeds for now, so that when you do have more time, this could be your new career. So what inspires you? What wakes you up? What keeps you up at night because you're thinking about it and you love it? maybe it's something your kids are doing and you could spark a skill set and a career over that. So I would encourage the mom who has been out of the game for a while to really think about what awakens her, what enlivens her, what makes you feel like you just don't want to put it down. What books are you reading? What blogs are you reading? Yeah. Take that interest and develop that into a career, because while your primary motivator may be to make more money around the house, that's not going to be a long-term sustainable goal. You'll burn out quickly and you'll wish you were just home with your kids. So you might as well take that motivation and it into something just so you could really model children about following their dreams and following their passions and doing something that awakens you.
I love that. And it's a good example.
My other comment, sorry to cut you off. My other comment that I just thought of as I was saying that is that we have an assumption based on our two worlds of motherhood and businesshood that they're separate. And what I've learned, because I've just carved it out for myself, is that actually most people in the business world like children. They have kids at home. So we think about the business world as being these, stereotypical business people. But when they get home at night, they're reading Dr. Seuss to their kids. And so we are so much more alike than we are different, that the worlds of the momhood and businesshood is really more overlapping these days than it was. And all it takes is just opening the conversation. And, I love when I hear kids laughing on an airplane. Airplanes are like, when you walk on them, you think to yourself, where are all the kids enjoying themselves? And why is everyone so grumpy on here? But, I understand if a kid is crying the whole time. But like when you hear this laughter and this new energy and this excitement for life, and then all of a sudden people start like smiling and being happy. And maybe there's a grumpy old Gus or two somewhere on the airplane, but more or less you get these people reaching out saying, I loved listening to your kids sing, or I loved listening to your kid laugh, or they're so cute. I remember when mine were that little, it goes so fast. And so people are family people. People enjoy families. Maybe not everybody. I'm not saying bring your kid to draw on your office walls, but in general, people could connect. There's a human connection when it comes to families. And if we could connect to each other on that level, connecting to each other's families, and then business, well then, we within our office, we have a slogan that says the world needs more family friendly. And I just really believe it to be true.
So I see, I feel like the workforce is shifting and has already shifted because women are part of the workforce. We're a big part of it too. And we're the leaders. And so a lot of times we get to call the shots, we get to shift the environment. And even with millennials coming up, the environment of the workforce is shifting anyway. But I love, just like you mentioned the airplanes, I love even at seminars seeing mothers nursing or the kids come in. And if the kiddo gets disruptive, obviously take them outside and teach them something, right? And so I love that so much. Now, your office, so I'm going to get a little personal with you, okay? We did not play in this, and I did not play in this either, but I see that your office is so perfect. There's literally nothing on the floor, and the books are perfectly lined up. So with that being said, this is like the Facebook social media version of Dr. Andrea and motherhood and like being perfect at this game. So what does the rest of your house look like? Does it look like that? Or is this just kind of a setup for this scenario?
So this is like this is my office. We have another office. This is in the back of our office. This is called my Andrea's trying to get stuff done, don't talk to her space. My other office is in the front of my office, and it's covered with glass, so people just knock on the windows and kids are constantly in there. And I'm pretty sure if you walked in there, there'd be karate belts on the floor and pens and everything all over the place, because that's where my children are currently. And I'll tell you my one biggest tip for success has been our house cleaner.
I bet to delegate that stuff out.
Yeah, she keeps my head screwed on. So Yes,
That's awesome.
that's true. I do think though that tidiness, I can't work in too much of a crazy space. So my workspaces are either complete clutter or complete clean. There's no in between for me.
I love it. I can relate to that. And it's mostly cluttered. I don't even have kids yet. But I do want to go into something personal. Do you have like a personal story where you struggled trying to balance mom life, business life, where they were kind of separate? And how did these tips help you either come out of that or just have more clarity or more confidence or more confidence in who you were and utilizing both of those roles?
Yeah. So, well, I have two stories that are related to share, and one is the one where I just had to make a decision about what I was going to do. And so, as part of my PhD, we had to complete an internship at the end of it for clinical training. And there's a lot of details there that I'm not going to go into, but it's very prestigious and very hard to get matched into a internship. And there were a lot of decision points that I had to make. So long story short, I matched at Yale, which like, hey, what better opportunity is there than to go to Yale? And so my goal in life for many years was to become a Yale professor. And so this was right in track with what I always wanted to do, right? Well, I would have started in July of 2013. And I found out that I was having a baby and would have delivered in August of 2013. And so I had to make a decision what would be my terminal year of my PhD, what I've worked for so many years and matched at Yale University, which was this, it's Yale. You can't
It's a
really,
dream.
I don't think I need to describe anything associated with Yale, and would have really positioned me for the career I thought I wanted, or be home with my baby. And I would have still been able to do an internship that would have been what that was, very high quality and served me well, but it just looked different. And I wouldn't have an @yale.edu email address. And so I ultimately made the decision to decline Yale because I knew that by my life by design, by the thing that was most important to me was my child and being able to be there every single day with my child and breastfeed, not having to do the pumping and gone, I would have had to work 50 hours a week. And I didn't want to be gone from my baby 50 hours a week. Now, that's not a judgment to women who are, that's just my personal life and personal choices. And so I declined Yale and graduated using my own path. And what came out of that was so much greater than I could have ever imagined because I followed what was true to me. So what was true to me, what I knew in my core was right, beyond all logical explanation, like the logical side of me would say, go to Yale, it's just 1 year, suck it up, and then you have the rest of your life. But I said no, because my heart said, I want to be home with my baby. And this is something that I worked really hard to achieve, being a mom. And so I'm going to be that. And so I gave that up, and the opportunities that were placed in my lap for that were so grand. And more specifically to, a couple months later, to answer your question, I had, I was part of a committee at the university. And this is with really like a lot of administrative people at the university, higher ups within the university for a hiring position. And my only choice was to bring my baby because I didn't have childcare. And so I just brought my baby along. And it turned out that at this meeting, he just was crying. He was like a couple weeks old and he was going to cry the whole time. And so I had to leave. And I left sort of with my head down, like I felt very disappointed that I couldn't keep up. I felt like I was shaming myself and I felt down on it. And so I sent this email to the folks that were at that meeting. And I said, I just want to apologize to you for having my baby there. It was unprofessional. And I put all these words in that were judgments. And what came back was this top world-renowned researcher who was part of the committee. He defined the field of cognitive neuroscience. He's just one of the top professors out there in that area. And he reached back out to me, and I'll never forget his words. And this is a male professor, very stereotypical. And he said, Andrea, you will never know how honored I am that you felt comfortable bringing your child to our meetings. Congratulations. And it opened my eyes to me that this world we live in is accepting of families. We might not believe it on a daily basis. When I say this now, I know if I was saying this on my social media, 20 people would come back with, but this happened to me and that happened to me. And you're right and true. And all of those things happen. And we don't live in a perfect world for maternity care or maternity mothers working or anything related to motherhood. But the truth of the matter is we're moving in that direction. And if we could be more gracious to ourselves and know that sometimes things are going to be unprofessional, but the world doesn't mind. And the specific people who mind are probably not the people that you want to be surrounded by anyway, so just disregard them. So all those tips I shared about giving yourself grace and changing your mindset and just filling in those little bits of time with work, those are things that happen naturally when you really own this notion that the world can be family friendly, and I'm empowered and gonna plow through it myself. So I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to breastfeed because it's time for me to breastfeed, and it makes you feel uncomfortable because I'm breastfeeding in this meeting. I'm sorry, but this is the world we're living in today. And I just accept that I'm carving that new empowered woman path, and the rest could fall wayside. But the belief and the expectation that others accept me is the one that helps me keep pushing forward.
I love that. And thank you so much for being such a trailblazer for so many of us too. Because it takes a firecracker to, I'm just going to say what I would normally say, have the balls to do that, like to go in a meeting with powerful men, or at least that's your perceived notion, right? And like do your thing and set the standard. And just as like some final thoughts, something that you hit on, I also want to encourage and empower women to release those judgments on yourself. I know in your story, you had some judgments in that letter that you wrote, like assuming their judgment, right? And so just try your best to release those judgments on yourself, because I mean, it's hard enough. We don't need the extra help to criticize ourselves if we're doing it right or if we're doing it wrong.
Don't should on yourself.
Don't should on yourself. That's right. I love it. Well, as we get close here, do you have a quote or any final thoughts or affirmations as a final word?
Well, my final quote or my final mantra, which is the one that goes through my head every day, is "This too shall pass." And I love every single moment of parenting, and I love every single moment of my career. And I know which one comes first all the time. And sometimes that could feel disappointing in terms of my productivity. But this too shall pass, and I have the rest of my life to be productive, but I don't have the rest of my life to make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Or maybe I do, but I don't know if they'll want them that much when they're 50. So, just having grace with yourself, having grace with myself, and saying, this life, it's worth enjoying. So I just do things that I enjoy. And you know what? It's kind of turning out all right for me.
Well, I have to tell you, from the outside looking in, you're a powerhouse and you seem to have it all. And I know it doesn't look as smooth as you're living it all the time. But I just look up to you, and I think it's awesome. And I actually wrote down some things at the very end, and we all get to go back and listen to this again. So thank you so much for all that information. I do want to reiterate that she does have a book called When Food Hurts, and I'll be sure to post that link in the show notes as well. And she's got a gut program. Tell us a little bit about the gut program, then we'll jump off.
Yes, of course. So gut health is the core to our health and well-being. The more and more research comes out showing that the gut, meaning your digestion and your digestive tract, underlies so much to health and disease. And so by maintaining a healthy environment within our microbiome or our gut, we're able to stay healthy. And so we encourage people to be empowered and to take control of their own health and wellness and not waiting until disease sets in. And so we've developed my husband and I developed a gut happy lifestyle system. And we have a program called the Reboot, which is an easy thing that you could do from home to help cleanse your gut, detoxify from all of these toxins in our environment, and just really, it's like hitting the reset button on your health. It's you're able to just start afresh and rebalance your microbiome and get rid of all the junk in there that you don't need, and just give a little kickstart to your health. So if you want to know more about it, I'm sure we can post the link below, but it is called the Reboot, and it's a wonderful way to kickstart a gut happy lifestyle.
Awesome. I'll be sure to do that. And how can people get in touch with you? Do you have a website?
The easiest way, we're very social, so the easiest way to get in touch with us is via social media. Our page is called Drs. Andrea and Eric's Treehouse. It's an empowered place for parents. That's our main page. And then we also have a Facebook group called Empowered Healthy Parents. You, of course, don't need to be a parent to be in that group, but we welcome all people who want to live a more holistic lifestyle. And within our group, we talk about both healthy living and gentle parenting.
I love that. Well, thanks for all you do, even the stuff we didn't get to talk about today. There's so much going on in your life. So thanks so much for your time and all of your knowledge and wisdom.
Thank you so much. I thoroughly enjoyed being on here.
Excellent. And those of you watching in, thank you so much for joining us, and stay classy, folks.